Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Market, where every day we discuss all things to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and how to make some or a lot of money on the internet. Load of discussion today. We've got crypto and stocks holding steady in the last 24 hours. Bitcoin is at 91K. Legendary will take us through some data points that he's been looking at. We had MegaETH announcing it will return all pre-deposit bridge funds because their execution was they quote, execution was sloppy and expectations weren't aligned. So we'll dive into what that means. And finally, Infinex announces a Sonar ICO. 5% of the INX token will be available at a $300 million FDV with a 1-year lockup. So we'll get into some of those details and the crypto Twitter and general response to it. We also got the latest on price action and general thoughts on the market as usual. So stay tuned for that. I've got Legendary in the co-host seat with me on this Friday, the 28th of November. We're ready to get into it. But just a reminder, friends, before we do, nothing that we say here is financial advice. The market is incredibly risky. We do not know anything for sure, unfortunately. So please do proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment always. With that out of the way, Legendary, it is Friday. It's the 28th of November. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm doing quite well. I'm excited to wrap up the week today. And I'm looking at myself on screen at the camera. I told you before the show that I did a facial this morning, did some micro needling, and this is why my face is still very red. But I feel like it is somewhat socially acceptable to be on camera, so I'm not too bothered about it.
I think if you hadn't told me you'd done it, I would not have noticed. That's how not red it is. It's not so red that if you hadn't said it, then anyone would notice, in my opinion. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm surprised that you say that because you are typically picking up a lot of things. You're not like the cliche man who's not noticing anything that's happening around him. So I am surprised you would say that.
People, I mean, probably the reason for that is like the setup that we have. People don't know the way we do the show now. It's in a new software and it's like not quite the same as before. You're much smaller than you used to be, basically.
Yeah, that's true.
So before, maybe that would be the case. But yeah, you're much, much smaller than you used to be. But yes, I have been told that it's not straightforward to get things past me. You know, if something's going on, I'm likely
Yeah.
to notice what is going on. Unlike you when you claim that I never drink water on the show, when I think in literally every single show ever, there is a glass of water next to me and I'm just like sipping on it throughout the whole show. But
Yeah,
you
but you
never
do it.
see this.
No, I see it, but I'm saying you do it in the most stealthy way possible. Like I'm the
This
one who
doesn't make any
picks up
sense.
the bottle and drinks like that, and you like kind of hide behind your microphone when you're drinking water. English in the YouTube comment is saying same B, he wouldn't have noticed, but now it is everything. He is noticing that I have mentioned that.
There you go. There you go. Another sign of the market, like looking after ourselves, trying new health treatments. That's where we are. We're going to chop around until Legendary stops looking after himself. I think that's usually one of our indicators. Aside from that, what's going on? We're going to get into the main stuff in just a second, and we've got some pretty interesting stuff, especially MegaETH news today, Infinex news. I've got a good take, I think, on the Infinex one, which we'll get to. Anything else, Ledge?
I am indeed coming out to Dubai. Yesterday I told you that it's
Yes.
like a 70% chance. Now it is a 100% chance. So I will
Good.
book my flights over the weekend and let you know on that.
Good. Good.
Get
Good.
some admin in. But apart from that, nothing to say, nothing to add. So shall we get into it?
Might as well. Let's do it. Let's do it, guys. As usual, we want to get you up to speed with everything that is going on in the market. But before we do today, we want to shout out our partners at Yeet. We're excited to be sponsored by Yeet. As always, the crypto casino has done more than $900 million in a bit more than 6 months, founded by trusted names like Mando, KBM, and pro poker player Ben Lamb. A reminder to only gamble for fun and what you're comfortable with. And to help there, as usual, when it comes to every Friday, we are giving out up to $500 each week to randomly to players active under the Modern Market affiliate link, which is in the comments. Legendary is going to put that there. It will be there now and later in the show. So do check Yeet out. They have a number of crypto-themed games, and their sportsbook has just launched as well. So stay tuned for our giveaway at the end of today's show. We'll be giving out $500 to one of the most active participants on our affiliate link. So we'll be doing that spin later today to decide. So stay tuned for that. Let's get into the price action. In the meantime, before we get there, to get you up to speed with everything that you need to know, we've got Bitcoin flat at around 91,500. So edging up towards 92. It's up 10% on the week. Big bounce back for Bitcoin, to be honest. Not out of the woods, though, I don't think. Ethereum is flat around 3K, up 12.5% on the week. XRP is flat as well. Sol's flat at 141. Not a huge amount of other moves here, to be honest. I think Hyperliquid's up a little bit more, up over 3%, back to $36. So that is edging back towards that $40 mark, where I think people would be a bit happier for hype. Getting into the meme coin side of things, we have Doge down 1%, back to 15 cents. Pepe is up 1%. Pump is up 3%, back over $3 billion fully diluted valuation. Pengu's up 1% as well. Fartcoin's up another couple of percent, over 300 mil FDV now. Rect's up another almost 40%. You mentioned them yesterday. They had those double liquidations, liquidation cascades a week or so ago. It was definitely decent to buy that dip if you did, up 158% on the week. So that would have been a good dip to buy if you did. I know Legendary did. Getting into the headlines themselves, which we'll be talking about, as we said, crypto and stocks are steady. We'll just touch in there with what data points Legendary is looking at. We'll discuss MegaETH announcing it will return all pre-deposit bridge funds because, in their words, they said their execution was sloppy and expectations weren't aligned. So we'll talk a little bit about those expectations and what they mean by that. And then finally, Infinex has announced the Sonar ICO. 5% of their token will be available at a $300 million FTV with a 1-year lockup. So we'll discuss our thoughts on that. I think I have some unique takes there. Some notable price action. Monad's down another 6% today to 3.6 billion. Rect, as we said, is up 38% to 170 million FTV. And Punk Strategy is up 15% to a 50 million FTV. On the NFT side, Infinex patrons, despite all of that news around Sonar ICO and things of that nature, just down 1%, pretty solid, around 1.8 ETH. Pudgy Penguin's down a couple to 5.86, and those are probably the main things to call out there. Got V1 CryptoPunks actually up 13.7 ETH. Rect Guy's up 20% with the Rect token price move as well, back to a 0.35 ETH. So that's that to call out. Getting into the rest of this roundup to get you up to speed with all the other news you need to know. Kinetiq TGE went live yesterday. We're talking about it on the show, pointing you towards the token. It's paired against USDH on Hyperliquid, one of the first ones that can do that. It's trading at a pretty conservative $38 million market cap at the moment. I think it's around 130 mil fully diluted now. So relatively low, definitely lower than a lot of people's expectations, I think. But that's where we're at the moment for Kinetiq. Balancer announced they should be distributing $8 million in recovered funds from the $128 million exploit. Tom Lee's Bitminer has bought another $44 million worth of ETH, averaging down on their obviously humongous bet on Ethereum. USDH incentives on Felix have gone live, with incentives going to USDH lenders if you want to use what is being described as the Hyperliquid native, the more Hyperliquid native stablecoin. There's some decent incentives going on there at the moment. It's around 8%, no more than you'd get for lending USDC, but still pretty nice if you want to try and stay Hyperliquid aligned, because some of the fees earned actually go back to buying hype. So that's why I think people are being encouraged to use it. Former ETH restaking protocol Swell evolves into Voyager, an AI-powered trading platform. And finally, Rect announces Rect purchase program. The 10% of all future revenue generated will be allocated to purchasing the Rect coin. I think that's at least in part why there's been a bigger move on Rect today. So that is the main news for today. We're going to get into the main headlines in a bit, because I think there's some juicy stuff there to discuss, specifically around expectations and valuations in this type of market. And but before we get there, Ledge, curious if there's anything else catching your attention. What have you been looking at? What are you looking at? What's on your mind?
Yeah. What I want to look at, because you mentioned Felix and the USDH incentives. Let's take a look at the lending rates for stables. We haven't done that in a while. Just to benchmark against Aave, Aave is currently at 3.4% for USDC, 2.98% for USDT, 2% for the Euro stablecoin. Taking a look at Felix, let me zoom in a bit. Maybe there we go. USDHL 9%, as you said, 8 to 9% is where it fluctuates. USDC, USDT 0 give you around 7.5 to 8%. We are talking about 56 mil in TVL for USDC. We are talking just about 300K for USDHL Frontier and 3.9 mil for the non-Frontier one. So obviously a bit lower on that end as it is a newer market. USDT 0 is significantly lower at 4.5% with 27 million TVL. So basically you get double the yield that you can earn as in comparison to Aave, but it's also down from the peak bull market where this was a, what was it be, 17, 18, almost 20-ish% when we went really crazy over the summer?
20 is pretty high. I don't know if maybe very at the top we were touching 20-ish. I expected like there were definitely times where we were in the teens for returns on lending on Felix, just straight USDT. Just a quick clarification, Ledge. USDHL is actually one of, and there's going to be so many stablecoins in the future, isn't there? USDHL is a different stablecoin. That's one that was launched a little bit more time ago. I believe that one is by the Felix team more natively.
Oh, yeah. You're
Whereas
correct.
USDH, so if you see USDH a little bit lower, that's the one by
That's the one.
native markets, which is the one that was like up against Paxos and all of these other big people. And that's the one where there's kind of no native supply APY, but they've got these incentives running at the moment, which is going to get you up to almost 8%.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
so basically that is, it's not quite as high as USDC marginally for lending on that. It's just a small, a little bit less, but people might be obliged or might feel obliged to support that one because the fees, or sorry, the interest being earned rather than the USDH team keeping all of it, a portion of it is going to go back to spot buying hype. So
Gotcha.
again, like the more native, more Hyperliquid aligned protocol is the one which I think people are going to try to be encouraged to support. But you know, in the end, you're going to need to find, it's going to need to have native yield that is sufficient and competitive with the other ones, right? There's no point. Or like at the moment, USDT is at, well, there's actually different reasons people might hold USDT versus USDC, but when USDC is going to be earning double the yield of USDT, which for, you know, bear in mind these things fluctuate quite a lot. So it's worth just, you know, keeping an eye out. One other point to make, Ledger, I was reading this the other day because I think it was interesting. USDE TVL, so Athena's stablecoin, USDE, that TVL is like really dropped
Hmm.
off in the last few months. I don't know if you're able to pull that up in any way, but it's
Yeah, let me
very
go.
interesting. I think USDE will always be a great proxy for reading where we are in the market. When that yield goes up, people flood into USDE because it's just a great way to hold and earn earn the native yield that accrues to well, you stake USDE, and it's like a great return. But when the market turns and people are taking far less risk, then people really flee it. So that's why, maybe in part as well, like USDE lending, I think people are holding a lot less, and the demand for it is a lot less. And that's why I think lending it on Felix now is like 3% or something like that. So much lower than even the other stable coins. And bear in mind, you know, we always make this point around USDE. It is not a stable coin in the same way the others are stable coins. It's a synthetic dollar. And therefore it does operate differently. But, you know, we kind of include it in that conversation for the purpose of comparing stablecoin yields. Thoughts on that, Ledge? Any thoughts? How much are you kind of reading into these numbers as an indicator for anything else in the market?
Yes. Before I go back on that, shout out to Traffy in the YouTube comments. Traffy's been extremely helpful to all the things. When it comes to all things Hyperliquid, Traffy is saying, yeah, but the USDH founder Max is involved in USDHL as well. Native Markets founder Max incubated Felix, USDHL, and USDH. And to your point on Ethena, we have it up on screen from DeFi Llama. Currently, APY for USD is at 4.5%. That is on a 4 bill TVL. Travis is also making this the same point that I had in my mind. If this number is going down, as funding is down, that will then also impact MegaETH revenue on USDM as a white labeled USDE token, essentially in a bear market. So that's going to be interesting to see that play out if we go deep in a bear market and the lending and borrowing activity as well as all the yield is slowing down. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that. And then I also see that Funky has his hand up.
I think it absolutely affects everyone. As people take less risk, they borrow less. So the demand for those dollars are less, means those lending rates come down. The funding rates come down. People are not longing as much. People got wiped out, man. October the 10th, they got absolutely wiped out, didn't they? So it's unsurprising to me that some of those numbers have come down. I don't know if you can find the actual chart to show the TVL of USDE Ledge. I think it's in the stablecoin section.
Let me try to pull
because
it up.
I think that'll be like, it will really bring it home to at least the viewers, and we can describe it for the people who are just listening in today. But yeah, and the thinking forward as well, it will affect not just the more crypto native stablecoins. It will affect companies like Stable. Maybe Tether is just sorry, not Stable. Circle. Tether is in its own universe. They just print money forever and ever and just keep buying Bitcoin and gold and whatever. But someone like Circle, where the business model is a little bit more shaky, they rely on Coinbase for distribution. And when rates come down, which we're going to go into an easing cycle in general, like they're going to get super affected. And I don't know if that's one of the reasons why their share price has been tanking after the initial run up, or whether it's just a classic stock market pump and dump in a way, or maybe it's both. But it's not exactly bullish for Circle that you're going into a rate cutting cycle when that's where they make all their money from, right? And then they still have the same costs to Coinbase for distribution, but the point is they make less money because the rates are going to go lower over the next year or two. So those are my thoughts there. Ledge, this diagram's this.
Yeah, I know it's not loading. I'm looking for something else in the moment. Let's get Funky in and see if I can get a Dune dashboard up or so.
Sure. Funky, welcome to the stage, man. What are your thoughts here on stablecoin yield? What it tells us about the market? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think you guys are spot on just in general about the state of the market, but something that caught my attention yesterday, speaking specifically to USDE, was AIXBT basically had this post that came out saying Athena USDE yields. My screen, of course, just reset. I lost the post for a second. Basically, it is now costs more to farm than Aave's 5.4% USDC borrow rate. So it's a negative 0.3% carry on leveraged positions, means 1.4 billion, and this is partly explains the drawdown, already exited in 6 weeks. And what really caught my attention on this post was he said Arthur Hayes, which had been the longtime bull of Athena, because Maelstrom had a huge position in them. Arthur Hayes dumped his entire ENA position at losses 2 weeks ago. Funding rates compressed from 15% to 5%, and that won't recover with BTC volatility at 45%. The entire DeFi leverage loop that pumped TVL from 7.5 to 14.8 billion is broke. So that being said, I thought that was super interesting that when that came across my timeline yesterday. I like USDE. I do stuff with it in Pendle. I think it's a great product. I really still believe in Athena. So it's interesting to see these rates come down at the end of the day. And I know you guys had a conversation. Part of the show yesterday was just about what kind of risk you're taking with smart contract risk and deploying stables, I'm still actively doing a lot of that with my stables, whether it's to earn points in various farms on Hyper EVM or elsewhere. So, I mean, I'm not too worried about it. Of course, I'm going to be permanently bullish. And I think Ethena, in the long run, it'll be fine. People always FUD the unlocks, but it is a revenue generating protocol. And I'm sure in due time, it's going to reverse course.
Yeah, Legendary's, thanks for those insights, Funky. Legendary's got the charts up now. Yeah, I think TBL went as high as like 13, 14 bill at one point during the peak of the market, and now USDE.
Yeah, all the way to 15 bill.
Yeah, went as high as 15. Now it's basically half, 50% down to like 7 and a half bill. One thing to note, Funky just mentioned, I see Oxy, your hand was raised. I'll come to you in a second. Funky just mentioned Arthur Hayes maybe selling a significant position. Also, though, the founder guy, who I personally think is one of the smartest people as I have heard him speak in general. I haven't met him, I don't know him, but I would like to. He's been buying, so I think he transferred a lot of, maybe it was like 750 grand or something, buying back his own token at the lows, not recently, like putting in a bottom. Maybe it was at 22 cents or something. So, some people exit. And while you say he might have been at a loss on a liquid position, they're going to be hugely up, I think, selling their VC bag portion, which would have been at a much lower valuation, I think. So interesting to note. Good part of the conversation. Oxy, welcome to the stage, my man. What's your thought here on what the various stablecoins are telling us, the yields and all of these things? And then want to talk about Kinetiq for a second.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I appreciate it. Stable coins are my bag. I love this stuff. So speaking to the USDM side of thing with MegaETH, I don't think necessarily the Ethena APY necessarily reflects the revenue that MegaETH is going to be generating, simply because although MegaETH is using Ethena rails to distribute their tokens and so on and so forth, I think what they're deciding to do is separate from the funding rates that Ethena is currently using. So my understanding is MegaETH is specifically going into T-bills in similar vehicles like that, where the funding rates obviously will be, or the yield will be determined by the Treasury bills, and that's kind of a separate conversation where if the Fed starts cutting rates, that will be impacted. However, on the Ethena side, I think because it's a synthetic dollar, they use a lot of delta neutral type strategies, where if you look at like the perps market now, the funding rates on Bitcoin or Ethena or Ethereum, Solana, some of the majors, they're much down compared to what they were, say, 3 months ago, 5 months ago, simply because fewer and fewer people are like extra long. So the short side of the funding rate is much lower. So Ethena is inherently making more in fees because they have other ways to back their stable coin than simply just dropping it into a USDT or a not USDT, a T-bill. So I think although it's reflective, I think there are like some distinctions between the two that doesn't necessarily reflect it's one for one. Like APY is going to follow directly alongside there.
Yeah, sure. Actually, that's a good point, because they do have two distinct products. One is USDE and one is USDTB. So USDE is the one that will track funding rates, and that's the one that was their initial core product. And then you've got USDTB, which is far more conservative. And this is the one where I think they've been thinking about the different types of market that they'll go through when people are concerned. Oh, what if everyone leaves USDE when the market goes bad? Like, can it survive? Well, now they've got USDTB as well, which is a far more conservative, far more straightforward type of yield that people can enter into in a far safer way. Oxy, you can confirm that for me if that's correct or not. What's your final thought here before we talk Kinetiq?
Yeah. No, yeah, that's exactly right. And then also speaking to like distributing in the US with the Genius Act, you're actually required. So USDM is actually required to be backed by T-bills and or like actual US dollar fiat. So like you're very much restricted. So that's another reason why they would have that product. And another reason why MegaETH and USDM is very specific on what they're going to be investing in, because they want to be United States, I guess, approved, if you will.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. Well, I guess we're going to get to have that conversation about USDM again at some point in the future. We'll have it briefly today as we get to that headline in a moment, because we'll be talking about how they've decided to give all of the pre-deposits back, $500 million worth, $500 million of pre-deposits. But we'll get there in a second. Before we get to the main stuff today, I just wanted to call out one more thing from the headline ledge, do like a quick reflection. We were talking about Kinetiq going live yesterday. We spoke about it on the show. Now we're looking at it here. If we just, I think we can take the screen down now. Okay, we've got the Kinetiq chart. Actually, let's leave it up. Kinetiq chart coming out at, what's the market cap here? So Kinetiq being the liquids, there's many liquid staking protocols on Hyperliquid, but this is the main one, the one that's got the most traction. It came out, it kind of surged a bit higher to around 20 cents yesterday. It has dipped down. Now it's sitting around a $42 million market cap. I think about a third of it is out on the market, which means this is probably around 120, 130 million dollars FDV, if I'm not wrong. Say that again, Ledge.
160 is the FTV.
Market cap or FTV?
FTV. I mean, it says market cap here, but given that it says 42 market cap here,
got it. So, remember when we spoke about the question for you, Ledge, is we spoke about this before, and we had all of those valuations on the Pollet market bet. Like, is this going to be above 250? Is it going to be above 500? Is it going to be above 750? Is it going to be above $1 billion? And there were people legit betting that this could have been $1 billion protocol. After one day, this was the bet as it was designed on Polymarket. Who's to say whether it can be that, in the future at some point? But the point was, people were betting on that, after one day, and I just don't think it's clearly not the market where you can achieve that within 24 hours at the moment. So, what have you thought about the price and its valuation at the moment versus maybe other liquid staking protocols, or just how are you thinking about valuing Kinetiq as things stand?
I think that, first of all, airdrop execution, having that in Hyperliquid core, all of that was done beautifully. I think there was also a minimum airdrop if you had like 0.5 point, half a point. What did you get, like $70 or so worth of Kinetiq? So all of that was done nicely. I don't know what else Kinetiq is doing apart from the liquid staking. We had a brief discussion on that, but I think that liquid staking alone is becoming a commodity that basically every chain will have or has. And I think that the times where we got like super excited about the liquid staking stuff and on ETH, the liquid restaking tokens, and valued all of them in the billions, they are over. This is not something that is novel as it used to be, and thus not as exciting. With that being said, you said that there is more to Kinetiq than just the liquid staking or the way how they are integrated. You know more about Kinetiq than I do, so I can't speak to that. I can't just look at it from purely the liquid staking perspective. And for that, I think it's fairly valued. I don't see why this should be at the moment, at this stage in time, a multi-billion-dollar protocol or token.
Fair enough. I do think that there is a little bit more to it, although I kind of agree with you. And the thing that people seem to do on Hyperliquid is they're not going to do like low float, super high FDV launches. It seems like the culture is going to be like, no, we're going to put this out there, going to try to earn it. That's like just my instinct based on this. And yeah, so the thing that they've been working on, and I'm conscious we have like a load of smart Hyperliquid people in the audience, in the YouTube comments. You mentioned Traffy's been super helpful on this stuff. I know As Required, who's in the chat as well, sent us some really interesting comments on Hyperliquid as well. Any of you guys can correct me if I'm wrong here. In fact, I don't actually know the details, but I just shared with you in the chat, Legendary, the markets handle. Maybe if you just pull that up for a second. Because
for one sentence, because Traff in the YouTube comments is explaining that they're launching a product where you can launch HIP3 markets with a LST and give them a share on the fees.
And there you go. So that's what they are doing. And what I just sent to you is the handle on which I guess they're going to be building that. It's called markets @markets_XYZ. if you just have a little scroll through Ledge, there's no like material content on the official account yet. There's just some kind of cool graphics that get you hyped up. But they have written on this, like they've written articles on this. I've read them before. I can't remember exactly the nuances, but I think Chaffee's explanation kind of hits it on the head there. So they've got more stuff coming. I think this might be one where I think, you know, when we were discussing our airdrops yesterday, I sold half, bought, I sold half, held half, because I thought this is one where I don't know how, I know they've got more to come, and it just feels a bit low. That's my instinct. Usually my rule is sell everything and don't think about it, because 99 times out of 100, and the one time being Hyperliquid, if you just sell and go about your business and concentrate on other things, you're basically fine, and you're probably better off that way around. But occasionally it's not. But I don't know. It just felt a bit low. It feels like a very well supported, well integrated token into the Hyperliquid ecosystem. They drop straight into Hypercore. Just like reading some of those signs, I think means that it will be supported and well loved. That's no guarantee, by the way, so that's why I still sold half. But I'm going to hold half at least for a bit. The question will be, Legendary, I'm curious for your thoughts as well. What happens when more well-loved protocols keep coming out and more of them trade at around 100 mil FTV, 200 mil FTV? Like, can the ecosystem support multiple tokens that are going to be in that region? One thing I saw, by the way, Smartest Money, who is one of the biggest Hyperliquid bulls, one of the biggest accounts that have been incredibly bullish on Hyperliquid, and looked up to in that way because he's like been one of the best traders, I think, on Binance before, one of the dexes. He had an insane amount of this token dropped to him because he staked so much Kinetiq or did something. I'm just trying to find the number here. And I think this is actually relevant as well. Like when you're trying to analyze a token, you want to know who the big holders are, right? It's obviously important to know, because if you know who the biggest holders are and you think that they're not going to sell, then that's material information for you. Let me just try to find the number, because I think Smartest Money received a total of 33 million Kinetiq, currently valued at $7.1 million. This is from yesterday. Shout out to MLM on Chain, whose Telegram I'm sure everyone is following. They should be following. This represents 3.3% of the total supply of Kinetiq and 12% of the circulating supply. So one person who is the biggest Hyperliquid bull, Anna, I think, has been vocally bullish. I don't know if he's been vocally bullish on Kinetiq specifically, but very, very big Hyperliquid bull has that much. And so, okay, well, if they're going to hold that much, so I might as well hold half of my modest amount. So that's all the information that I think might be helpful to people. Ledge, curious for your thoughts here before we hit the main headlines.
Yeah, probably the only thing I have to add on that in terms of airdrop strategies, I didn't sell any of that. I kept all of my Kinetiq airdrop. I see Funky with his hand up. Funky, let's get to you quickly, wrap up this topic, and then get into the main headlines, because we have like 20 minutes or so left in the show.
No, just real quick, I think I agree with B. This is one of these where I got the airdrop. I basically sold half into hype, where I didn't take stables because I was happy to accumulate a little bit more hype. And then I put some of that hype as well as some of the Kinetiq into Project X on the LP, and it was just printing insane fees. So, I feel that is the point that B is making about this big Hyperliquid whale holding. I feel like Kinetiq is sort of a darling of the ecosystem, and a reason why I wouldn't sell, because it seems like all the OGs are behind Kinetiq, and it's a good team. So it's something that I'm happy to just kind of hang on to and maybe earn fees.
Yeah, I know it's just I kind of get the same read, to be honest. A bit of a softer read. It's not like a hardcore fundamental analysis, right? But sometimes you got to read the tea leaves like that as well. Just to be clear, actually, because of my instinctive nature with these things, I actually sold all across both wallets, and then after like reflecting a little bit, I bought what I saw back on one of the wallets, because my mind, I'm trained to sell. I've done this. I've been in this game for enough time to just press the sell button and then move on with my life. Usually, then I thought, okay, let me buy that one half back. Why not? Let me try that. Okay, so I think that's a helpful conversation on Kinetiq and other stuff around the market before we get into the main stuff today. let's get into the first couple of headlines. Remember, we've got our Yeet giveaway, $500 going to one of our active participants on our giveaway board, on our Yeet board. We'll get to that towards the end of the show as well. Ledge, crypto is pretty steady today. I don't know what numbers you want to take us through as part of your roundup, but what do we need to know? What's catching your attention, if anything? What do we need to know?
It is one of the weirdest days in the market in years, and this is something we have to touch on. We are currently facing the longest outage that the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, has seen in years. So what has been going on there, or is still going on there, is that the CME group has halted trade on its currency platform in futures spanning foreign exchanges, commodities, treasuries, and stocks, freezing a handful of benchmarks as brokers pulled products. The outage began early in the Asian morning. They said it was due to a cooling issue at one of the data centers, and they are working on fixing that in quote unquote the near term. It's also affecting brokers in the US, in the EU. European brokerages specifically have been saying that they are unable to offer trading in some products. As a result of that, gold price, some of the other things have been a bit erratic on the futures side as a result of that. So this is still an ongoing thing. To the best of my knowledge, I was able to try to get the most updated info as I am presenting it to you. Apart from that, S&P 500 and the tech side of things, just to talk equities again, looking pretty good. Nvidia's up another 1.4%, or was up 1.4%. Obviously, yesterday was Thanksgiving, so none of that changed on the spot side of things. Again, on the future side of things, can't really update because we are lacking some important data. The other thing I want to touch on real quick is the gold price. Gold is up another 0.5% or so to $4,174. Silver, we touched on silver yesterday. We said it's close to all-time high. It's even closer to all-time high now at almost $54, basically $1.60-ish, 70-ish cents off its previous all-time high, which it had hit early in October. Seen some more pictures also trending on the timeline with people buying physical silver now and lining up to buy silver. Similarly, as we have seen that with gold when gold hit 4.4K. So that is definitely something I will watch. I do have a silver position. It is smaller, significantly smaller than my gold position. It is still something that I'm tracking in the market. And then just to complete the roundup, I'm not going to go to poly market because everything is unchanged. We still have the same odds of 80-something% to see a rate cut. There's still outlook and expectation for BTC with that coin flip chance to see 100K again this year. This is what I want to cover today, and especially focus on that CME outage because it's something we haven't seen since 2019, if I remember correctly, to that extent.
Interesting. Okay, good stuff. I mean, I feel like today the roundup is just the roundup. There's not a huge amount to dive into. It's been a quieter day. We've discussed which directions we think we're going. I don't know that anyone has any pure confidence in either way. My instinct is still a little bit lower after this bounce, but frankly, I took off my short positions because it's not a high confidence play and it's not a strong setup in my opinion. So that's where we are with the majors. Let's get into the next couple of headlines, which I think are going to be very interesting to discuss. The first one being the MegaETH decision to refund all the pre-deposits. This is the news that MegaETH, after they raised $500 million in pre-deposits for their chain to bootstrap the USDM liquidity, because of some of the technicalities and the difficulties which they faced as they tried to navigate that pre-deposit process. Remember, they initially had said 250 mil. They raised the cap. They said it was going to open at a specific time. It opened before that time because of some complications. Then it wasn't as much as they thought because then they reduced it from 1 bill to 500 mil. So there's like multiple complications. And they've decided, because of the complications in that process, they've decided to return all funds from the pre-deposit bridge. They said, in their words, in this tweet, which we're showing on the screen, which I'll be showing with you here, execution was sloppy and expectations weren't aligned with our goal of preloading collateral to guarantee one-to-one USDM conversion at mainnet. So I do have a question about that, which I'll discuss with Legend in a second. But in terms of just what you need to know, how this decision impacts you, they said depositor contributions will not be forgotten. All comms, however, need to follow compliant standards. The refund process requires a new smart contract, so it's currently under audit, so they'll do that shortly. So that will take place whenever they are ready soon, we hope. USDM is integral to the MegaETH economy and will be supported by many frontier applications. For this reason, we will reopen the USDC USDM conversion bridge ahead of Frontier mainnet to deepen liquidity, easing user onboarding prior to launch. So I guess this is saying, yeah, sure, we're still going to have a bridge. We're still going to need a bridge. We'll do that before the launch, whenever that may be. So that is the core news. Bread commented underneath, just saying resetting expectations, giving everyone money back. Can't say more because of legal, and it will come back before mainnet for function instead of APR. I get the sense, Legendary, that one of the reasons, the bit that I really wanted to double click on personally was this expectations question. I think there was a feeling that maybe people were making calculations here and maybe were expecting things maybe in the similar vein to Plasma, like they've done some calculations. We just deposit this and then we're going to get some crazy amount the other side, which I think is possibly what is going through people's minds, right? If you look at their pie chart of all of their allocations of where the tokens go, you do see 2.5% that goes to the pre-deposit campaign. My reading of that is might not necessarily be all for the depositors. It could be for things which you're going to do on chain over time, right? So I think, maybe that needs to be clearer, and maybe that clarity will come as they get a chance to just reset expectations. So that would be like my main bit that I double click on personally. But what did you think about the decision, and what were your thoughts?
Want to preface it with the fact that, love MegaETH, super excited, super bullish for that. None of that discussion is changing my outlook or view on MegaETH in the midterm. But this decision I don't fully understand, to be honest. Definitely want to double click back next week when we have Brett with us on the show again to have some questions ready for him, because yes, people will have expectations if there is a deposit campaign. Like everyone's doing the math.
Sure.
Oh, okay, I could earn this much in stablecoin yield. So my expectation is obviously if I forego that yield, give it to you guys, that the tokens that I get, I'm speculating on that they could be worth more than the yield that I did forego in the same period, in the same time period. I fully understand that they have this Mika-specific legal challenge of not being able to communicate all the things, and this is something that they did know before, and that they obviously still know, and they will reopen the bridge to have people, probably also a good amount of the same people, redepositing the funds, because they still want to do that speculation, or they want to be supportive of MegaETH, they want to have funds ready for MegaETH mainnet launch, whichever of these reasons it is. So I just find this step of refunding people, then reopening the bridge, finding it a bit redundant in my opinion. But again, that is just my personal opinion. Don't think it's that impactful overall that it will be a relevant discussion point a couple months from now, half a year from now. So that's just one singular decision that I don't think that I personally don't like the most, to be honest. But again, it doesn't change my view on Mega.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly the case. I think in a few months' time, it's not going to be relevant. But I know what you mean, in the sense that I think everyone in this industry embraces the fact that there is at least a proportion of what you do, if not a vast majority of what you do, which is to try to outperform. Like everyone's always looking for outperformance. You're looking to maximize profit, and it would be unlikely the case that if you run the numbers, and I remember talking to you guys on the show, right, the other day, where I was saying, I ran some numbers and I liked what I personally liked on my understanding, and I don't have any more information. Like I just looked at the public spreadsheet, not spreadsheet, the pie chart, and I looked at what numbers would be able to deposit, and I thought, okay, I like the look of this. When I say I like the look of this, it means that I think I'm going to outperform putting stablecoins in a something. And it doesn't mean I've got like a concrete calculation. It means that my gut is telling me that, roughly speaking, based on some of the things that I've seen, and after going through all types of campaigns before and being like a fairly experienced capital provider, LP in different circumstances, I think this is going to be a good one. And that's clearly a reasonable motivation of a lot of people, clearly. And so I don't know. I feel like we've got to embrace that. And I think I know what you mean when you're just like, well, what do we mean about expectations? Expectations is to make money on all capital, basically at all times. And I appreciate maybe you can't say that as a team, but that's going to be part and parcel of the game. So, and then one final thing I thought is, maybe sometimes this just comes down to, well, if you got your money in, you don't understand. If you didn't get your money in, then you think this is the best decision ever. And to be clear and to be disclosed, like, me and you both got our money in, not in the first round, but in the second round. However, I can see how if you didn't get it in, you think the team are geniuses and this is such an equitable decision. Whereas if you got your money in, you're just like, for God's sake, just leave it. So there's a little bit of personal bias there that could creep into our analysis. Ledge, thoughts there?
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't have anything more to add on that. Definitely want to circle back when we have Brett on the show again. So I think we can leave it at that, if that's fine for you as well.
Absolutely, it is. Okay, so we will, monitor, and hopefully that bridge can get opened up sooner rather than later, and the refunds get distributed. Let's get to the final headline. I think this is an interesting one as well. This one is about the Infinex ICO. So the reason why this one is pretty interesting, and I've got a few different bits of details to get into with this one. It's already got a lot of attention on the timeline and people discussing, like, is this worth it? Is it not worth it? But the headline bits of information, this is going from the Infinex article on it, is that the Sonar sale, which is the ICO platform run by Echo, is designed for community members who missed the Patron NFT sale. Bear in mind, Patron NFT sale was more than a year ago. When I invested in that last year, I think it was around October. It was just, I was in Singapore at the time analyzing it. So this was the first time you got to invest in Infinex at an early stage. You had three options. This is the context that maybe people are not familiar with. You could lock up your NFTs for a whole year. And if you did that, you could do it at a 150 mil valuation. You could buy at a 300 mil valuation, and then the NFTs would like vest over like in some interesting way, depending on how many you bought. And then, or you could buy at a 500 mil valuation, if my memory is correct, or something like that. And then your NFTs could vest faster. So that was the original sale almost a year ago. Now they're doing what they're describing as an ICO. And here's the core details. Number one, 5% of the total INX supply will be available. 300 mil fully diluted valuation. It's a $15 million raise, 1 year lock on all tokens purchased. And for context, this is important. The current implied FDV of INX based on the Patron NFT price is approximately 400 million, because all of the Patron NFTs, there are 100,000 Patron NFTs. At least like 30-40% of them are in the treasury of Infinex, so they are actually holding those themselves. The rest are on the market. I think not all of them are liquid yet. You need to double check that. But all of those NFTs represent a proportion of the INX supply. And that's relevant for what I'm going to say in a moment. On the question of whether you can unlock early, so it's not like a hard stop at 300 mil FTV. On the question of can you unlock early, they said you have the option to unlock your tokens before the 1 year lock expires via an accelerated vesting option. At TGE, the unlock fee is priced at 1 billion FDV. The price decays linearly back to the original 300 mil sale price over the 1 year lock period. So technically, you can actually unlock right away. You'll just be doing that and receive a quantity that would be at a 1 $1 billion valuation, and therefore that might not be as attractive than if you wait the whole time, and you would then receive in a quantity of tokens that would value the tokens at a 300 mil valuation. They said if Infinex is trading above the accelerated vesting price, some buyers may choose to vest early, smoothing out the unlocks over time. So I guess the thinking here is like, if Infinex is trading at 1.3 bill FDV or 1.5, people will think, oh, this is a 1.5x on my max valued on my tokens, which if valued at the max at 1.11 bill, I can be liquid right now for a 1.5x, like a 50% gain. And then maybe those people sell off. Some people who are believers just hold, and that means that there's going to be less sell pressure in the future, a bit more sell pressure initially, and then it smooths it out over time. That's the thinking, at least. So a couple of comments before I give my own comments. Infinex had this to say. This is the tweet with the video. They quote tweeted Kane's analysis or appearance on an interview. Said, "We're right at the beginning of the super app era." One of the things they said to try to support these valuations, I think, is that there are 30 centralized exchanges which are worth more than $1 billion. In 5 years' time, there'll be 30 super apps worth more than $1 billion. So I think they're definitely trying to pin this idea that, look, we are, we're the future Binance. Like, centralized exchanges have been a big part of crypto in, the first era, or however many first eras, and now we're moving to the app future. And we're going to be able to take over that. And if centralized exchanges are worth billions, we should be worth billions moving forward. That's the argument, at least. Whale had this interesting criticism purely on the numbers, I think, to which Kane responded. He said people can get in at 300 mil FTV if they lock their tokens up for a year. Locking up anything for such a period of time at this type of valuation is a gamble at best, or a 1 billion USD with instant unlock, but with limited upside, if any. The Infinex patron NFTs currently imply an FTV of 545 mil, but are highly illiquid. So in theory, you get in at a 40% discount, and he's being generous there, but you only get tokens in 12 months. So he's suggesting this is a bit of a lottery. And Kane responded to this by saying, I get the criticism for locked ICOs, but I think it also highlights one of the issues of the cycle. Almost no one has the conviction to hold a token for more than a few weeks. The odds of any meaningful outcome over days or weeks is almost zero. My thought on all of this is actually in the final tweet, Ledge, where I think this is actually not an ICO. And I know an ICO in some ways is an initial coin offering. And this is not initial. Like, they've done the patron sale already. And I think what people just need to consider now, and maybe in a way, even the ICOs where they are initial coin offerings, when you have pre-markets that trade at particular prices, and those pre-markets are actually turning out to be reasonably high volume, reasonably accurate, i.e. the market does go to that price, roughly speaking, once the token goes live and there is a TGE, it's actually becoming slightly more like a OTC. So I said this in a tweet earlier, I said, these are not ICOs, they are OTCs. And you have to decide if you're willing to buy at the discount which is available to you. So, we said there in the tweet, at the moment, roughly speaking, the patrons represent the total market cap and FDV of Infinex. And, if you add that up, it's something in the region of, I think, over 500 mil FDV. So would you want to buy at 300 mil FDV at a whatever percent discount that is, and need to lock up for this amount of time? We were getting all kinds of offers for OTCs, Legendary, in January. Remember when the market was going crazy? Because this is often when people want to try to do an OTC to get rid of their position once the market is up. And, you have various types of deals. You can buy it at this price at a 30% discount, but you've got to hold it for a month and then you can start selling it or something like that. There's various ways that people try to do them. We said no to every single OTC for two reasons. One, don't like OTCs because it's not our core business. We don't have a specialism in that. And also, it's just highly risky. Like, I don't like the feeling of going into a market that's hot when the prices are high, and then people want the OTC to unload some of their holdings onto you, and then you have this lockup. And then if the market turns down, because obviously they're selling it at a decent time in the market, even though this time in the market is not as good as what it could have been, you're left holding the bag. Like, it becomes risky. Like, you really want a hefty discount to that live trading price, a hefty discount, in my opinion. And in my opinion, you want, in this industry, you would have had to tell me something like you're getting a 70%, you're getting a 70% discount to price. Otherwise, I'm not. You're telling me 50% discount? Is that going to be enough? Probably not. With this kind of market, if Bitcoin dropped to 80 again, or heaven forbid lower, which we don't know which way the market's going at the moment, then you're screwed. So that's my thoughts, Ledge. I think it's I think a lot of these are going to start to feel more like OTCs, and you're going to have to decide whether you're comfortable with the discount that you're getting. And you're going to want a hefty discount in order to feel comfortable, because you need to give some room for the market to turn against you, given that we've been through the kind of market that we've been through. So those are my thoughts, Ledge. Curious for your thoughts before we come towards a conclusion here and get to our Yeet giveaway.
Yeah, I want to go to a post by Moritz, just maybe a bit more on the edgy side, but it's kind of speaking to the discount as well. So Moritz is saying Infinex has a 160M TVL, wants to sell you governance rights at $1 billion valuation if you want them liquid at TGE. And then someone asked in the comment, what's your reasoning that Monad is a no-brainer 2.5 bill over Infinex at 1 bill that also offer up to 70% discount for long-term thinkers? And Moritz says 70% discount. I don't know, man, setting some imaginary massively overvalued FTV and then calling it a discount when you lock is diabolical. That is his point on the sale. I personally don't like that. I fully agree with your like saying this is more an OTC deal that you're getting than an ICO, but I don't like the structure of this deal, to be honest. It's not something that it feels a bit weird to me, not only from the numbers perspective, but also how it is set up to come out with that 1 billion liquid, but kind of lead with the locked part and then say it is accelerating to unlock, and you get a 70% discount if you want to stay locked. And then I think Kane then also said like nobody has conviction in anything, so like basically blaming the selling part, which is doesn't paint. And I like Infinex as an app, and I think it's pretty cool. But
Yeah,
the way
I like it. I find it helpful.
this ICO or OTC deal, whatever you want to call it, has been communicated so far, I just don't like it's done. And I side with Whale. You had this other post, but he said nothing against the Infinex team, but I think it's gaslighting to insinuate that anyone who doesn't want to lock up their tokens for a year, the 300M USD FTV entry has a short-term mindset. So yeah, doesn't sit right with me how this has been communicated.
The alternative read, I'm just thinking about this out loud. The alternative read is that they've put it out at a bill because they are going to make this come out at a bill. That could be one read. In which case, would the play look? Nothing's for sure in this space, right? But like, you would think Monad set the thing at 2.5 bill because they knew they're going to defend that in some way. I don't know if they actually did or not, but like, it's not going to go underneath. And even if it did briefly, it then surged off that, right? So, if you're going to be a bit more creative here and to explore the other side, you'd say, okay, they're putting it at a bill, even if you don't think it is at a bill. And therefore that's the one that's going to come out. It's going to come out above that, potentially. And you could figure out a way to get bullish around that. And then in that scenario, the way to do this would not be to buy and lock or to buy and then sell with your 1.2x TGE. The thing to do would be to buy the liquid NFTs right now at 500 and whatever mil FTV. And they're going to be, I think, you've got to double check this, please. Don't hold me to this. I think they're going to be 100% liquid. Oh, I don't know. Maybe you got to check. But as in, you see where my thinking's going, right? Like if the NFTs represent the tokens and they're the ones that are at a 50% value, discount to the 1 bill, I find that to be far more valuable and a better deal. 50% discount to the 1 bill valuation, maybe more unlocked than 70% discount, but have to lock for a year. And so you're going to be at least a little bit liquid, and you've got to check the extent to which you're liquid. But you see what I mean, Ledge? That would be the way to do this, no?
Yeah, I was just checking X as well. People are saying you should be liquid with the patrons, so basically mirroring the same sentiment. I still wonder why it has to be so complicated then. So why all of that? Like, why do I have then two liquid or a liquid option via the ICO? Then I have the patrons where you think you are liquid at the value that they're currently trading at. Then you have this this discount structure going on if you want to stay locked for a year.
Well, I get it to some extent, because I get that for some reason, like maybe that is a lot. I don't know what the average entry is to these things, but one NFT is, I think, $5,500 now. Maybe that's too high. Or maybe people want to buy 7,000 and they want to buy one NFT, but then they can't buy another half, so then they can't buy the second one, things like that. So I think the flexibility of entering into a sale, I can see why it's helpful. But I think that on the pure number perspective, I think it would be better to, if you had size or a bigger amount, if you believed that this was worth a bill, then you would just bid the NFT like right now. But you've got to check the valuations, and you've got to check if you're liquid, which I have not fully done. But I like that thinking. It's good conversation to get that out. I think that was interesting. In fact, I'm going to go and do a bit more deep diving there. But guys, I hope that was helpful. As usual, we said we need to get to our Yeet partnered giveaway today. As usual, it's a Friday, which means it's the end of the week, which means we go to our Modern Market Yeet board to see who will be getting $500 based on their activity in the last week. A reminder, you can get access and join the Yeet board by signing up to the link, which is in the comments, Legendary, I believe. And let's get to it. See who's put in the volume. Who's going to win the $500 today?
Yeah, we got a special one today. This is because we have quite a lot of volume going on. We did 70K, or the Modern Market community did 70K over the last week on Yeet. That is 66 members who have been playing. If we go down the leaderboard, we have Funky doing more. Funky said in the YouTube comments that he had to step down to listener status. I still hope that you can hear us. Funky did 37K. J Miles did almost 19K, and Phonics now in the third spot.
Phonics is back.
Phonics is back indeed with 7K in volume. And what has happened is that J Miles has won the last 2 weeks, and J Miles DM'd me and told me, take all of my entries and give them to Funky this week, because Funky does deserve a win. So we did apply the volume weighting. We have the wheel of names ready. I still left J Miles in, but just once again, if J Miles hits, the win goes to Funky this week. So Funky has, I think, more than half of the entries this week. Let's see who's gonna take it away.
Well, let's see. There's still a lot of other people doing some volume here. Remember that one time Ollie got the win with like $1 of volume versus everyone else. So,
by the way, he's still doing. There you go. He's still doing his weekly dollar, which I absolutely love.
Okay, well, let's do it. Let's see. Good luck to everyone who is participating. We appreciate you all for participating. Let's press the button, Ledge.
Yeah, this looks like no. It is not Funky. It is J-Lo, who is winning in between 4 Funkies, and J-Lo in the middle got it this week. Congrats.
Congratulations to J-Lo. I believe this might be their second win, potentially as well. This is why it's good to be in the mix. It's always good to be in the mix. People are participating. And, the wins are getting spread out. The wins are getting spread out. So appreciate you for participating, J-Lo, and everyone. As usual, commiserations to Funky. I'm sure he's gonna get the W again at some point soon. But shout out again to Yeet for partnering with us over the last few months. We'll be doing another one with them throughout December. So if you are interested in participating, sign up in the comments. Remember to only gamble with what you can afford to lose, and just keep it fun. And we'll keep doing these giveaways throughout December. So guys, we hope you enjoyed the show today. We will be back same time, same place next week on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. See you on the other side. Bye-bye.